which was a big surprise to me because what Elisa had said was true. We really were in deep shit. The ECU is probably preparing to fight us. The demons, those people with the cat-like eyes you saw at the carnival last night, are on the way to find us. We barely have food to last us a week, and we have little to no weapons, not to mention the almost non-existent connection to the outside world. Elisa continued, as if I hadn't said anything. The only people not laughing were Frankie, Cade, and Tanya, sitting on the bench closest to me, watching the others. Sienna sat in the corner of the room all by herself, resting her back against the wall, watching us in silence. "My laptop works just fine," a guy sitting on the bench to my left said. His name was Jimmy, and he'd been the one to send out the announcement to every storm witch in the country, telling them where we were and that our doors were open to anyone in need of shelter. I'd never forget the moment he hit post on Facebook and Twitter. At that rate, I was going to bathe in my own sweat and not even need the ancient bathtubs. "Yes, John, your laptop works just fine," Elisa said. "It's Jimmy," the guy corrected, but she paid him no attention. "I've got a list of half of you here. I'm going to start with what we need the most. Weapons," Elisa said, and turned to the sketchbook. "Tyler White." A guy on the right raised his hand. His round face made him look a lot younger than 20, which was the age he'd given to Elisa. I could see it in her sketchbook. He came from a family of bone witches, and his father had been a weapons master. "How good are you at making weapons?" Tyler flinched. "I guess I'm good enough." "For the state we were in, yeah." "What can you make?" "Swords, knives, bows," Tyler shrugged. "But I'd need tools to do that." "Why don't you put together a list of things you absolutely must have to get to work?" Elisa said. "And how do you propose we get those things?" I whispered to her, while Tyler got his phone out and began to type. "There's a lot of trees we can cut and more than enough metal. The fences, for example. I'm sure we can put something together," Elisa said. But I doubted it. Even if we had the raw materials, he'd still need the tools to shape them into weapons. Suddenly, the bench on my right groaned loudly, as if warning the people sitting on it that it was about to break down. My heart almost jumped out of my throat, and my eyes landed on the double doors on the other side of the chapel. Closed. We had 10 people outside keeping guard, Axe and Grover with them. They were keeping an eye out for demons or the ECU. I kept waiting for a gunshot that would tell us that somebody was out there. So far, there had been no gunshots, but I was constantly on edge, and now even my ears were beginning to play tricks on me. "Next, we have Lois Garcia," Elisa said. "A thief." She grinned. The girl smiled proudly, her ginger hair tied behind her back. There was nothing about the freckles on her cheeks or the warm brown eyes that said she stole for a living. But there she was. "What exactly can you steal?" Elisa asked her. "Anything, really. You name it," Lois said calmly. Some of the people around her patted her back. "Way to go, Lois." "I'm going to have to think of a few things," said Elisa. I rolled my eyes and cleared my throat. "How many of you have family members or friends out there that are willing to help us?" Only 8 hands rose. That was bad. I'd expected at least 20. "So, when are we going to get to the good part?" Maddie said. Still the youngest among us. I'd been so happy to see her that morning, to know that she'd been safe. I was dying to ask everyone how they'd managed to stay hidden for so long after we had to separate in Long Island. So far, 20 of the 27 were with us. The rest we were still waiting for. "What's the good part?" I asked Maddie. "The magic," she said, and pointed behind Elisa and I, at Sienna. "What she did." "All right, so how many of you know how to use your magic?" I asked next. Maddie was right. Our